Hello there, fellow Gateballers. Today we're going to be discussing Article 3, which is labelled Team, and we'll be discussing also Article 4, which is Manager and Players. Now, these are really important articles because they also reference clothing and clothing-related equipment. We're also proud to be endorsed now by Gateball Australia, and we would like to make reference that all of the figures used are used from the WGU's official rulebooks, Q&A book, and Guide for Referees book. So without further ado, let's move along. So this is a brief overview lineup of two teams which are next to each other. So we're going to read Article 3, which has only one clause and 2 dot points. And the first dot point says, the team shall consist of 5 players and up to 3 substitutes, among whom one shall be designated the captain. And dot point 2 says, each team may have one manager, who may be non-playing, specific to the team. So, very, very simple. That a team consists of 5 players. You can see the 5 players on this team with the numbered bibs, and the 5 players on this team with the numbered bibs. You can also see a manager standing on either side, this being one team and this team's manager, and this being one team and this team's manager. You can also see that there are 2 players without a numbered bib or an armband denoting that they are the manager, and they are substitute players. You're permitted up to 3 substitute players within your team. You'll note that the substitute players are also wearing the same uniform, and that's very important because it will come into relevance just in a few moments. And we can see that there are 3 referees here. We can see that there is a recorder, there is a chief referee, and there is an assistant referee. So, moving right along, we'll be discussing Article 4, which is Manager and Players. And this one's a little bit of a longer one, so we're just going to go through it a little bit slower. And dot point 1 under clause 1, which is the duties of the manager, says that the manager shall head the team and be responsible for the actions and comments of the team. What does that mean? It basically means that they are the face of the team. They may not be making all of the tactical decisions, although they may if they wish. They are the image and face of their respective team. Going down to dot point 2, it says, the manager shall conduct the following. Number 1, indicate the substitution of a player. Number 2, designate a substitute captain. Number 3, indicate the absence of a player. So the manager is responsible for all of those 3 things, and they are the powers that he has as the team's manager. Dot point 3 says the manager may question the referee. The questioning, however, must be done at the time of the action in question arises. And it says the time used for such questioning will not be counted as a referee time. I'm not going to make reference to what referee time specifically is in this video, as we'll discuss it in a later video. You just need to know that the manager questioning a referee on a ruling, when it happens, because that's the only time it's permitted for the manager to do as such, does not count as refereeing time. Right, moving right along over the page. And we can see the number 1 in the little circle says, once the question has been addressed by the referee, the manager may not repeat the question. And that's just coming back to the fact that once a referee has ruled on a decision, you must accept the decision, whether it is wrong or not. Moving on to clause 2, the duties of the captain. And we can see that there is a captain here, as seen by his captain armband, and this is the player number 10. And we can see the player number 7 on the opposing team has a captain armband as well. And it says, the captain shall represent the players and be responsible for the actions and comments of the team. So similar to the manager, except that the manager is not a player. But the captain will also be making most of the strategic-based decisions as well. Moving along, it says when the captain is not able to perform his or her responsibilities for emergency reasons, etc., the manager shall designate a substitute captain from among the players and indicate to the referee. So, should something happen and the captain is not available to perform his duties, as mentioned, the manager has the ability to substitute another captain in during the game or before the game. Moving along, it says when the manager is not present and the captain is unable to designate a substitute, one of the players shall be designated and indicated from within. So if the manager is not present to make the decision, the players may amongst themselves decide who shall be nominated as the captain. Dot point 2 says the captain shall conduct the following. So the following responsibilities are relevant to the captain specifically. Number 1, submit a playing order sheet. Now, we'll discuss what that is a little bit later, but we need to remember that the captain is responsible for submitting a playing order sheet. Number 2, choose whether the team leads or follows, or choose the waiting area should it be necessary. And that's if they have lost the toss. Number 3, sign the record sheet at the end of the game, which is incredibly relevant as that is the final score of the game. Dot point 3, when a manager is not present, the captain shall concurrently take on the responsibilities and duties of the manager. Often in Australia, we do not have managers. It's hard enough in many cases to find 5 players to play on your team, and therefore a manager might not be either available or relevant in many cases. So therefore, the captain becomes the manager of the team should no manager be selected. We're going to move on to clause 3, which is incredibly important, and that is clothing. And we're going to be looking at this image, as it seems to be the only image I can find with a Gateball player fully exposing his playing number. And under clause 3, clothing, dot point 1 says, the starting players, as well as the substitute players who join from the game midway to replace the starting players, shall wear a number indicating their playing order. So that playing order sheet, which we'll discuss a little bit later, indicates which specific player by name is to play which number, and they are assigned a bib. Obviously, the substitutes do not get bibs, but they may swap bibs if they are substituted in. And we can see an example of a playing order number bib right here. And the rules stipulate what that bib has to be and how it's worn. And it says, the number shall have a height of 10 centimeters or more. So in this direction here, it must be higher than 10 centimeters. The number shall be displayed in any of the following ways. On the chest and on the back, which is the most common, so that the number is displayed on both sides. So this gentleman has it on his chest and it is also on his back. Or on the chest. So he may have a bib that is just got the number, that just has the number on the front of the chest, which is fine as well. Dot point 2 says, the manager must wear an identification on the upper arm noting that he or she is the manager. Moving on, we can see a description, a little bit of an image here that shows a manager with a large M on his arm saying or denoting that he is the manager. Furthermore, the Q&A book states how large the letter has to be. So this 2 centimeters high rule is in reference to the letter itself, not the entire armband. So the letter itself, in this case the letter M, must be at least 2 centimeters high. Similarly, the captain's letter must also be at least 2 centimeters high. And dot point 3 says the captain must wear an identification on the upper arm, noting that he or she is the captain, which is exactly what we have discussed. And here on the right, we can see the most commonly used captain armbands. So we can see that these characters here, these kanji characters, are at least 2 centimeters high. And we can see that this would be used for the red team, should they be captaining, or the captain wearing this would belong to the red team, and the captain wearing this armband would belong to the white team. Moving along, it says that all players on the same team must wear the same uniform. So let's go over here and have a look at this team here, and it's obviously the red team as they are the odd numbers. And we can see that player number 3 is wearing a very different uniform to that of his fellow players. Now, in a case like this, should the player of number 3 at the beginning of the game, at which point inspection by the referees takes place, not have something to wear that is exactly the same as his teammates, his team will forfeit, as he is not wearing or cannot change into the same uniform as the rest of his team. Now, that might seem a little harsh, but it's important that these steps are taken before the game actually starts, and ensuring that every part of the uniform is exactly the same. That includes hats. Should a team choose to wear hats, all the players must wear exactly the same hat. They must wear exactly the same polo shirt or t-shirt or any athletic wear. They must also, if choosing to wear pants, must all wear pants or must all wear shorts. The only thing that the rules do not apply to in relation to a uniform is the very next dot point, or one of the very next dot points, that says that you must wear athletic shoes. Now, you need not all wear the same brand exactly of shoes, but they must be athletic and of the same general colour. The next point speaks about the manager, and it says the manager and players must wear athletic shoes. The point that I was saying. The manager must wear athletic shoes, but he need not wear the same uniform as the team. So the manager can be dressed however he wishes, as long as he's wearing athletic shoes, but he does not have to wear the same uniform as his team. Now, should the captain be the manager at the same time, that does not mean that the captain is permitted to wear whatever he wants. He must wear the same as the rest. He must wear the same clothes as the rest of his team. And the last dot point there, dot point 6, says the players must not have anything on their person that might impede the game. So that's literally anything that might influence the game in any way, shape, or form that's part of their clothing they should not wear. Now, a little bit of a tangent that we're going to make here. As you can see, this Gateball team is getting ready to play in the rain. And we can see that player number 7 here is wearing a very different coloured raincoat in comparison to the rest of his team, and we can see that the manager's just here and the substitute and the 5 players who have been selected in the starting order. Now, a team that does not have the same rain equipment similarly is forfeit if they cannot wear the same rain equipment. And again, that might seem harsh, but those are the rules, and should you be playing in Japan sometime, they take them deadly seriously. They would rather all play in the rain and not wear rain-related clothing whatsoever, as it would go against the rules. Now we're going to talk about Clause 4. And Clause 4 says basic conditions to be observed by the manager and players. And it says, the manager and players shall understand and observe the official Gateball rules. Hereinafter, game rules. So for the rest of the time that we'll be discussing this, I'll be referring to the official rules as the game rules. Dot point 2 says, those who are involved in the game must accept the decisions of the referee in the spirit of true sportsmanship. I believe this one's a little bit of a given, but we must accept what the referee says, whether it is correct or not. Dot point 3 says the manager and players must treat the other teams, teammates, referees, and spectators in the spirit of fair play and communicate with courtesy. That one's a little bit self-explanatory, so we won't discuss that one. Dot point 4 says, the manager and players must not take action aimed at influencing the decision of the referee or hide a foul made by their team. It is very important to note that you cannot say anything to the referee while he's making his ruling, as that may be considered influencing on the decisions of the referee's decision, and therefore you are not permitted to do that. You may also not similarly commit a foul and then not report it, even though the referee has not caught on, as that is not in the spirit of true sportsmanship. And the very last dot point for this video is the manager and players must not take actions aimed at extending the game. Now that one might be a little bit complicated, but it's a little bit more self-explanatory than you think. You cannot have prolonged discussions with the referee by the manager or the players or anyone in the game that may chew up time that may otherwise be used to play the game effectively. And that's all that dot point is talking about. Well, I hope you've enjoyed today's video on team managers and players. That are articles 3 and 4, and we hope that you can join us again for Chapter 3, which is preparing for the game, and Article 5, which is also similarly labelled preparing for the game. Until we see you on a court sometime soon, have fun and let's play ball.